Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I like to do this about every 6 months. I like to go through and actually grade all of the epic champions, all of the legendaries. This video is going to be all about epics in Raid. This weekend, we're coming up to the best shard event that there is. A 2x chance to get good champions from ancient shards. Okay, so this is a great time to do this piece because you're going to pull epics. You're going to pull potentially legendaries as well. This video, we're going to go through every epic in the game and let you know what I think. Quick fire through them all. I will kind of break it down on the timeline if you want to kind of skirt to the one that you've got. But if you want to watch it in full, grab a cup of tea and let's go. Right then, we'll start with the Banner Lords. Hordin, first one up off the ranks. I wouldn't level Hordin. He hits hard, gets a reset, okay for arena, basically trash. Lordly Legionary, we get him as a freebie, as a login reward. Actually quite good towards endgame Fire Knight, but wouldn't level him, pretty much trash. Archmage Helmet you get from Doom Tower, the first Doom Tower champion. Awesome, awesome epic. Can use him in a lot of spots actually, but really strong in arena. He's got an AoE stun, which is unusual. He's a good buff champion for someone like a Seer. Just generally quality champion. Gerhard, trash. Arndulf, quite a new epic, basically trash. Oathbound is like a sleeper OP control champion. So he's got AoE drop attack. He's got a freeze. He's got block active skills. Awesome champion for faction was this one. Throw him in a stun set with 2 AoEs. He's got control for days. Chancellor Yasmin, literally never see her played. She does have a full cleanse on her A3 and then she puts out a sleep. So it's kind of okay. But her AI is a bit wonky. Wouldn't level her out. Seneschal wouldn't level him. Alaric hits pretty damn hard. He does have an AoE which smacks with a drop attack. Could use him, I guess, in a bit of Hydra, but generally wouldn't level him out. Lady Twillen, our new Lady Trash. So Armitage actually has got massive multipliers on all of his skills. He's also got a nice A1 with 2 of the best debuffs for bosses in the game. So not bad for like a single target boss player. Also got an AoE on his A2. It's pretty cool. Knight Errant, one of the hardest hitting single target champions in the game. I would never build one out apart from for memes. Stag Knight, awesome, epic, basically a legendary champion. AoE, decrease attack and defense on a 3-turn cooldown and a decreased speed on his A1. This is a top tier epic. Fearmonger, we don't fear you, absolute trash. Discard, pretty average epic. I probably wouldn't build this one out apart from for faction wars. Rowan got some niche uses against clan boss on like unkillable teams because she's got a poison ability on her A3, but she's very confused. She does not know what she's meant to do. She's got a stun, she's got poison, she's got heal reduction. None of them really sync together. Pretty weak. Azure, just a unit to stand in front of stuff, would never take him past level 50. Warcaster can be used in unkillable teams. Actually, very useful for that if you don't have an alternative. Other than that, wouldn't level him out. Ursala, awesome epic. Great revive champion. She's got one of the best revive abilities in the game. Also gives you increased defense and strengthen. Also an AoE drop attack. Yeah, decent epic with a good aura as well. Definitely worth your time. Moving on to the High Elves then. High Elves, we've got Royal Guard. Top tier epic. Huge damage dealer with his A2. Enemy max HP skill. Build his crit rate up. Build his crit damage up. Don't worry so much about his attack because the enemy max HP will do the work for you. Also got decreased speed on his A3, which is good, and decreased defense. Top tier epic in some of the best Fire Knight teams, best Spider teams, best Hydra teams in the game. Tyrell, still a good epic. Probably been outscaled a bit by others that have come along, but still gives you AoE drop defense. Still gives you a single target kind of depleter meter and stun and a decreased attack A1. Can be used in clan boss, can be used in a lot of dungeons and arena sort of setup champion. Thanassel, pretty much like an early game epic. Will get you through some content, but not worth leveling to 60 in my opinion. Luthea can hit pretty hard, but basically outscaled by your starter champion. Burgess, the king of the solo. Burgess is actually pretty cool. Can solo a bunch of stuff in Doom Tower, like Scarab Boss. He just kind of self-buffs, annoying to kill. I'm not a massive fan of leveling him out, but if you're struggling to get past some stuff, I think Stu Gaming did a whole bunch of things with Vergis as well as Soda Dragon, so worth checking them out. Marksman, trash. Jingle Hunter, trash. I guess you could use him as a go first in your arena team to try and proc an AoE freeze, but basically useless. Battle Sage, I wouldn't level out myself. Does have a nice kind of all battle aura. Does have a revive on death, and also got this increased attack which cannot be removed. So if you're trying to buff your team without wanting them to get stealed by people like Hydra, then she could come in there. Got an AoE A1 as well. Exemplar, pretty much only usable as far as I can see in Dark Fey boss in Doom Tower, where you're trying to guarantee a freeze to go on to somebody with her A3 here. I've got a video on that which you can check out, but otherwise absolutely shocking. Androsia, actually quite a cool new epic. She is basically arena focused. She's like a mini Necret, buffs your damage dealer. So you decide where the buff's going to go, because it's all based on targeting the person with the lowest max HP, and she protects them. And she's an absolute tank unit. A big faction next, the Sacred Order. Canoness, canon trash. Adriel, absolutely useless. We hope she gets better. She's okay. She's got this kind of 50-50 chance of removing buffs off of enemies, which may be useful against Hydra now with a shield on her A2 as well, but still pretty much unplayable. Frostbringer, oh, another bad one. Talia, actually quite hard hitting, but probably been outscaled by a lot of the game now, so I probably would not take a Talia up to 60 unless I'm struggling for damage. Juliana, give this girl a buff. Useless. Sanguina, the first one, who's actually pretty damn cool. She has got this ability to transfer all debuffs from herself to a target, removes all debuffs from all allies apart from herself. So she does like a full cleanse and transfers stuff to enemy team. She's got block debuffs as well. Generally useful because you just get debuffs so often in the game now. Really good for Adref as well. Aethar, kind of like outscaled really. Not bad in Dragon, not bad on Clan Boss. Pumps a bit of damage through poison, but pretty mediocre. Relic Keeper, one of the fusible epics. I would never fuse this guy to use him. Literally get him for the Arbiter mission and move on. Missionary, his mission is to find a place in the game. He hasn't completed it yet. Romero, outscaled. Lady Etessa, oh man. We've got a bad bunch in this group. Literally nothing going on. Lady trash. Mordecai, the savior of the faction. Mordecai is actually top tier epic. Probably the best epic burner in the game. So he's got a places HP burn on all enemies. That means you can do it against all affinities without a chance of it not coming on. If it was a hit, then you can get weak hits. But he's not hitting, he's just placing it on. Also means he can place it through the Hydra Poison Cloud buff thing. So makes him top tier for Hydra as well. But Spider, Hydra, Sorath, a whole bunch of Doom Tower stuff where the enemies just get fierce. HP burn is where it is at. He's also got turn meter control as well. Generally top tier epic. Bushy, bit like Missionary. They're trying to find what the hell they're doing in the game. Bushy is trash. Phoenix, old school but very cool. Phoenix gets his chest out. He flirts with the ladies. And then he brings the cannon. He brings the cannon on the A1. This is a double hit. The hardest double hit in the game from an A1. It's also got block revive on it, which makes it extremely juicy. He brings an AoE block buffs. He brings two of the best debuffs for bosses in the game as well. Phoenix is definitely worth a 60. Deacon, alongside the Phoenix, these two are awesome. So Deacon brings you turn meter control. Yes. Brings you decreased defense. Yes. Brings you speed in all battles. Yes. Gives you a leech on an A1. This dude can be played anywhere in the game and he is top tier. Mistress. Yikes. After Deacon, Mistress shouldn't be in the game. Mistress may be in Faction Wars, but never taken her to 60. Lodric has got a decent A1 to decrease attack. Can be used in Scarab Boss for his kind of protection shield here. It's on a 2-turn cooldown if you book it right down. It's probably not worth the books because you can get rares like Metal Shaper that do exactly the same job. Cardinal, kind of queen of the chi strat now, even more so when Stone Skin has been added to the game. Basically, she becomes your go second arena expert. And what she's got here is a revive all champions with their turn meter boosted to max. Only champion in the game that does this to max. Means your team will definitely get a go before the enemy team. She revives everyone as well. So you just bring in a team of squishies, absolute cannons. She revives them all after they get squished down. And bang, you blow everybody up. Really cool champion. Lightsworn kind of being a bit outscaled now. Does bring a decreased attack. Does bring a revive on definitely increased defense. But good for faction wars. Not really that great anywhere else. Inquisitor Shamal is the answer to the head of Torment in Hydra. So he's pretty damn cool for that because he just wipes off fears and true fears. He's also kind of the answer to Mashold in any content that you face him in. And he hits really hard with this A2 as well. So Inquisitor Shamal generally pretty useful for Doom Tower waves and Hydra. Godseeker, God tier. Absolutely great epic champion. She brings you healing. She brings you buff extension. She brings you enemy buff reduction. And she's got revive. She's got a cool passive that she just revives someone as soon as they drop down. It's not quite a long cooldown, but it's very cool. Good in Clan Boss. Good generally. Good in Hydra. Good against Bommel. Like generally solid epic. Onto the Barbs then. Aina. Aina got no time for this girl. She's okay. She's okay in like very situational Clan Boss stuff, but generally wouldn't build her out. Jotun. Maybe you got him as your freebie. I wouldn't build him out. Sikara. She loves a read. She's in the library. She's reading it up. She's like, give me another book, another book. Pretty much terrible epic. Aitor, terrible epic. Amina, the first good one then. She's got AoE drop defense. She's got AoE chance to stun. Stun on her A1 as well. Turn meter control going on. Really solid epic. Alika, I like her read in the library, she says. Along with her sister, she is book hungry. Never known someone who loves the book so much. She does actually hit hard this one though, so she's got decent multipliers on her A3 and good multipliers on her A2. I still wouldn't build her out. Tishada, wouldn't build her out. Weak source for what she should do. Kalia, terrible champion. Maeve, wouldn't build her out. Baroth, wouldn't build him out. Woad, painted, possibly the worst epic in the game with a face to match. High Katoon, one of the freebies at day 30. Really good champion. Brings you speed in all battles. Speed is king of the game. Gives you turn meter control. Turn meter control is basically like having more speed. Gives you increased speed and turn meter boost. Great in arena. Great in against any boss where you're trying to control turn meter, like Spider, Fire Knight, a whole bunch of the Doom Tower bosses. Gives you decreased speed on her A1 as well. This is actually huge. So you want accuracy on a build, and you want to build her fast. Great champion. Vala kind of does a lot of damage, actually. She hits hard with her A2, and she puts a decreased defense out, but it doesn't drop defense all enemies. And there's a rare in the same faction that does exactly that, so you would never build her out. Barakin, great epic champion. Brings you an ally attack. One of the best ally attacks in the game, including all the legendary champions. Buffs you with crit rate, buffs you with crit damage, so you need less on your team. Then he brings in the team to attack. It's also got an HP burn and poison, got a decreased defense. Great against Clan Boss. Great in as an arena champion if you're trying to build like what's known as a blender team. And generally cool. Very good champion to build out. Good in Doom Tower as well. Harkon, not worth your time. Sawai, kind of a bit like Aina, really. Pretty similar champion. She hits freaking hard. She's got all of the debuffs you want against Clan Boss in one champion here. Drop defense, drop attack, weaken. Beautiful set of debuffs, and she hits hard. Outside of Clan Boss, I wouldn't use her. Skytouch Shaman, actually a cool champion. She is great for a go second arena team. If you're struggling to get that speed together, you want to build her in immunity gear or frenzy gear with high resistance. And basically what you do is you let your team take a bunch of debuffs. She then goes, cleans them all off, gives everyone revive on death and says, now it's your turn. She's actually really cool for that same reason in a whole bunch of content, just keeping your team moving, giving them a passive heal. Very, very nice, epic champion. Let's get on to the Ogryn Tribes. Ogryn Tribes, a lot of trash, let's be honest. Grimskin, absolute trash. Go take a bath. Have a nice day. Ugo, actually an awesome, awesome epic and risen up the tables in the ranks. She is probably one of the most sought after champions in the whole game for Hydra. because she is bringing drop defense and block buffs at the same time. Block buffs will deal with the annoying heads that want to steal your buffs, or the annoying head that wants to put a poison cloud out everywhere, or the other annoying heads. Like, there's so many annoying ones. She deals with that really well. She also brings a heal and chance to revive, and she brings a leech on her A1 as well. Really great epic. Clod is only really used for one thing, and that is bringing increased speed without increased turn meter. There's some funky clan boss 2-for-1 comps where you need that. You don't want turn meter boost at the same time. He's one of the few that do it. Lydia is another legendary that does it. So he kind of like subs in for Lydia if you don't have Lydia yet. But outside that, I can't really see people using him a whole bunch. Siege Hulk is an absolute like glass cannon smack machine. Doesn't even fit in the screen. Does bring an AoE drop defense, and he smacks people with it at the same time. Outside of that, he's just like a single target nuker as well. Kind of good champion. If you don't have a drop defense champion going yet, this is your dude. Also really good for this faction, for Faction Wars. Skull Crusher, one of 3 team counterattack buffers in the game. He's the only epic. He also brings Unkillable at the same time and Ally Protection. He's a one-man clan boss unit. Ally Protection is the best skill for clan boss in the game. Counterattack is probably the second, unless you can build an unkillable team. He also features in some unkillable teams if you're running someone like the Tower. So Skull Crusher still got his uses, still a great epic champion to get. Shatterbones, actually another good epic. Does a lot of damage with his A2 and turn meter control at the same time. Also brings an AoE drop speed, which is great for Hydra, as well as a turn meter fill for your team. So good for arena, good for wave-based content. If you're trying to get through waves of enemies like Faction Wars or Doom Tower waves, kind of risen up the ranks since you can control AI. So Shatterbone's actually pretty damn cool. Grunch, I mean, he does have this cleanse ability. So if you're struggling for a cleanse in something like Adref, the spider boss in Doom Tower, then this is useful. Outside of that, can't see him being used. Okay, Gruckus. Gruckus is basically a Fire Knight specialist. He brings heal reduction. He brings decreased speed. He brings a multi-hitter champion. So outside of Fire Knight, wouldn't really use him a ton, but for Fire Knight, actually pretty damn good. Yalka is a surprise package. He's got 2 absolute nukes. Nukes on his A3, nukes on his A2, but bombs aren't a thing, so that's all he's got. But he does hit crazy hard, so if you're struggling for damage, Yalka is good for that. Cage Breaker, give this guy a break. Absolutely useless. Occult Brawler is a clan boss specialist. Best poisoner in the game, pretty much. If you don't have ally attacks and counter attacks going on, just pumps poison all day long. You don't actually need to book him as well, which is cool. But if you're already kind of past that with clan boss, then it's not really worth leveling out. Crush is one of the free champions that you can get. Actually great support unit. Does a lot of damage with his A2 and A3, both AoE abilities. Got a lot of kind of heal mechanics with leech, continuous heals. Well worth building out. Maneater is a clan boss specialist, also one of the best epics in the whole game. He is the answer to unkillable teams in clan boss. He's also just kind of great. He's got turn meter still on his A2. He's got unkillable buffs for your team and block debuffs, which are both great abilities. And he's got a decreased attack A1. Fantastic champion. Towering Titan, absolute trash. Prundar loves a slab of cake. He's basically like a wall. He's just a wall in front of people. Outside of that, and his provokes, I probably wouldn't build him out myself. Ogryn is a great poisoner, can still solo the end game content of things like Dragon, maybe Ice Golem as well. Awesome champion for throwing out poisons and healing your team and cleansing your team. So Ogryn, well worth a build. On to the Lizards. If you're still with me, drop me a sub, drop me a like, and maybe refresh that cup of tea. Lizardmen then. Jarang, useless. Jareg, decent. So Jareg's good for clan boss. Jareg's good against bosses like Iragoth in Doom Tower or the Griffin in Doom Tower. Pretty cool for that. Venomage is one of my favorite epics in the game. Brings you an AoE poison and heal reduction ability. Brings you a single target decreased defense and attack. And has also got enemy max HP on the A1. Cool passive as well that you just take less damage if you get this heal reduction out on everyone. Nice passive as well. Really worth building out. Basilisk hits pretty hard with his A1. It's also got this stun ability that can stun on a weak hit. I think it's one of the only champions in the game that can do it. It's probably a bug, but it happens. Outside of that, I wouldn't really use him. If you're trying to do the Lizardmen secret room, then he's almost like a must for damage. Aox, great epic champion, bringing you decrease attack, decrease crit rate, bringing you healing, bringing you debuff extension. Very, very cool epic champion. Broodlord kind of felt like he was going to be good, but pretty much trash. Z is a Doom Tower epic, so you probably won't get this one for about 24 years, and pretty bad when you get it. Drake hits hardish, but terrible epic. Jizzo, one of the champions that you get right at the start of the game. I don't think worth taking to 60. Quagan, interesting epic. One of the few champions that buffs depending on your ability. So if you've got high attack, it will give you an increased attack. If you've got high defense, it will give you an increased defense. Also some extra buffs to go alongside it. Outside of that, it's got a heal and a shield. Kind of decent support unit, I would say. Broadmoor, one of the fusible epics. Worth fusing just to help you through this faction for Faction Wars. Outside of that, wouldn't bother. Scathix, pretty underrated epic, I would say. Got a full cleanse here with block debuffs. That's great in most content in the game. Also gives you a shield as well. And able to steal buffs from enemies. This becomes more important, I'd say, with Hydra and the amount of buffs that Hydra kind of has swinging. Also, a decreased speed A1 is cool for Hydra as well. So, kind of got better as Hydra's popped up. Block damage for 1 turn if they go low as well on your team. But it's on a long cooldown. But generally, pretty decent epic. On to the Skinwalkers. Taurus, Poison Machine. Drops poisons almost everywhere. Only really useful if you've got a poison exploder like an Eleanor or a Xavier. Pair those together though, and then damn, you're doing a ton of damage. Flesh Terror, just outscaled, wouldn't build him out. Scabbers, like a man-made clan boss machine. Poison, Leech, Weaken. Probably pretty decent with an AoE Leech for Hydra as well, but generally I would use him on Demon Lord clan boss. Ripper, rips his way nowhere. Not going in any team, useless. Rain Beast, totally useless. Snorting Thug, it's actually been buffed 18 times, still useless. Yadra, most fed champion in the game. That should answer the question. Ursine Ice Crusher, useless. This faction is not doing well. Ursine Ironhide is okay. He's got a bit of turn meter control and AoE drop attack. Not bad, but not great. Forez, almost like a must-have revive champion for this faction because the faction takes damage when you get further in Faction Wars. So decent epic to build out. Probably would take it to 50 and it would be okay. 60 gives it more survivability. Steel Skull is a decent epic here. Got a team-wide increased defense, team-wide heal, a cleanse single target, a bit of poison. Really nice support champion. Bane is actually awesome. Tons of damage. It's got a double hitter on array 1 with a little bit of turn meter steel. Got poison and decreased attack single target here. Great for bosses. Great for clan boss. And then a triple hitter here with drop defense and weaken. Again, great for bosses, especially clan boss in stuff like unkillable teams. Her biggest weakness is her defense at 727. Makes her quite hard to build to stay alive. Basha, great epic in this faction. Got a mini warlord ability. The ability to lock out the enemy team. This is great for faction war waves or any wave content because you're locking out all of the enemies from their main abilities. Means they're only going to use their A1 against you. Outside of that, it doesn't really bring much else. I guess it's got a random block buffs, which again is great for Faction Wars. Pretty much an arena, Faction War, or Doom Tower wave champion. Right then, onto the Orcs. Got some good champions in here. Ultimate Gaelic used to be the only epic that could do an AoE HP burn. It's not as consistent as someone like a Mordecai. It's still decent. It needs a bit of setup. You've got to have increased attack on you before you do it. So you need to make sure that he does his A2 followed by his A3 in your setup. But still a good champion for Spider, Doom Tower, Hydra if you're struggling for burn champions. Duke is a fantastic epic. One of the best. AoE, drop attack and defense. Got a decreased accuracy on his A1 as well, which can help you in places like Bommel or in some of the Hydra fights. And it's got a Provoke, which I thought was absolutely trash at first. But it's amazing how many times this comes in clutch when you're just trying to stay alive as you get further into the game. So a Provoke here is actually quite kind of useful. Also useful against Magma Dragon. Jord, actually pretty good. He's got this kind of revive ability. One of the best revivers in this faction if you're trying to get through faction wars. Torture Helm has got some niche play. He's actually capable of soloing Dragon 25. I did a video on this, which is kind of funny. He's absolutely over the moon with himself about it. Look at him. He hasn't stopped smiling since I did that video. But he's got this kind of revive mechanic. As long as you get him fast enough with enough stats, he'll just keep coming back. So, pretty fun champ. But very niche. I wouldn't build him out just for the sake of it. Like, a lot of people probably got him built and never use him. Zargala, AoE decreased defense champion. Really strong for this faction. Does a lot of damage as well. Can proc her A3 with her A2 if she kills someone. So she hits someone hard with the A2. They drop down. And then she just gets an automatic A3, which is a triple hitter nuke. So really fun champion to play around with. But you do need a lot of stats. Accuracy. Tons of damage. Speed. Like, she's hard to build out. You need pretty much more like endgame gear to get her going well. Bloodfeather, not really got much use. Can be used a little bit in faction wars. Bonekeeper, hits hard enough, but not really doing anything for the faction. Shaman, one of your logged in champions. One of the first champions that you feed. Terror Beast, pretty much terrible champion. Only really got a use case against Fire Knight for this reflect damage. Reflect damage just pushes a hit back on the Fire Knight shield for every person that gets hit. So this is actually pretty useful if you're struggling with that. Brask came into his own in Doom Tower. Does quite a lot of work against champion bosses like Bommel, where you just need healing. Put him in a retaliation set. Put him high HP, and his passive does all the work for you. You also need 100% crit. But whenever he crits, he gives a heal for 10% of his max HP to the full team. Very cool. Doesn't need books either, which makes it even better. Sandlash Survivor, really good. Clan Boss Epic, really good. Arena Champion if you're trying to go second and still win. She's got a great passive ability, which spreads an ally protection to the team and puts block damage on herself when one of your team goes low. Also got this nice buff increase and enemy buff decrease ability as well, and hits quite hard. Seer, maybe the best epic in the game for killing stuff. Yeah, she's got an AoE, enemy max HP, buff rip-off, absolute cannon of a nuke. She just does more and more damage for the amount of buff she rips off, both your team and their team. So also puts them to sleep once you get that done. Really cool champion. Two-Hack, I guess maybe gets a bit of Hydra play now, but I don't think he's worth building out compared to a ton of epics in the game. Tolf, I would never build out Tolf unless it was for a meme. Liburga, one of the new champions from Doom Tower. You'll get this champion in 2028 once you've done Doom Tower for 10 years. When you get them, though, they do look damn sweet, but probably not that practical. Onto the Demonspawn then. Allure, the best champion in the game for Fire Knight, bar none. She's got this A1. She just keeps going. Turn meter drops, turn meter drops. It is freaking awesome. Also really good against Dark Fae once you've killed your kind of like equivalent team. She's just like that, pumping in the A1s, dropping turn meter like crazy. Best two spots in the game by far. She hits okay, but I wouldn't build her for damage unless your gear is godlike. I would build her for accuracy. You need 100% crit rate to get this going, and you want her fast. If you can then protect her with the rest of your team, she is doing work. Turn off the other skills if you're worried about it, but certainly for the boss part of the fight, just turn off the other skills with the AI control. Excruciator can one-shot people, but I wouldn't build her out. Akoth is a great epic burner, the second champion you get from Doom Tower. Bit like Mordecai I mentioned earlier, just throws out the AoE HP burn. Part of a lot of Spider 25 teams. You only need to build him to level 50 or whatever. Like, it doesn't need stats. All of his kit is already doing the job, and you don't even need books. Great epic to build out. Bildrax, trash. Scion, absolute trash. Eriness, complete trash. Soul Drink could be fun with the new bomb champion Gaius, which is part of a fusion right now. So I'm going to be trying that out once I get my Gaius to see how this works. Mainly because of his passive that popping bombs when he dies. And Gaius explodes bombs when he dies. Those two together have got to be freaking awesome. Lizana, good support defensive unit or HP based unit with an AoE drop attack as well. Pretty decent. Infernal Baroness, got some AoEs going on, but could put her in a stun set. I wouldn't build one to 60 personally. Taniks, trash, wouldn't build to 60. Nub Raids might argue with that because he does use Taniks against Hydra. I've never seen Taniks used in any other team. And I've only seen Taniks used once by any content creator ever. And that was Nub Raids. Achak, great, epic. AoE ability on the A3. Can freeze. Generally freezes. Sometimes it's a burn and not a freeze, but that's very rare. Pretty much only when you want it to be a freeze will it be a burn, like Bommel. But against Spider, absolutely brilliant if you pair Achak with an actual burner. So burn and freeze together. You get this passive kicking in where it throws turn meter forward and it heals your team. The freeze procking on an enemy will give you turn meter. The burn will give you healing. Also brings you two of the best buffs in the game, block debuffs and strengthen. Really, really great champion. Hellgazer, stop gazing and start to improve your kit. Useless champion. Tarshon, another one of these champions that kind of gives you a turn meter feel, but also gives you increased defense. So if you've got a defense-based champion that you want to do damage, you would rather bring this one in, Tarshon in, rather than someone like an Arbiter, because he's actually buffing the skill that does your damage. So only really if you're trying to use him alongside a defense-based nuker like a Solus or a Marquez, someone like that. Also gives you a strengthen here and there. It's kind of decent champion. Gorlos is good for this faction. AoE drop defense here. A burn here as well. Pretty decent for Demonspawn. Magnar, one of the best nukers in the game for Arena. Generally strong anywhere in the game. Gives you an absolute crazy nuke from the A2. Double hitter if there's no HP burns out there. So actually don't want HP burns. You just want to build him high health, 100% crit rate, high crit damage, and that's it. You don't even need accuracy in his kit because you're all about the damage. And because his damage is based on health, he's quite easy to keep alive as well. Stir the Hungerer then. It's another one of these revived champions, kind of one in every faction. Good for faction wars for this faction. Outside of that, probably wouldn't build her out. Urtikata hits kind of hard. Pretty good for clan boss for kind of poison sensitivity, a chance to land poisons as well. But I think probably just outscaled by a lot of other champions in the game. Padma, one of the best decrease attack on an A1 champions because it's 100% if you book her out. All she needs to do is crits. She's a defense-based champion as well, so she can keep her alive pretty easily. Brings AoE drop accuracy as well. Really good epic champion. Good in Hydra, good in Bommel, good against Iridov, good against Griffin, good against Clan Boss. Like lots of places that she's decent. Umbral, solid epic. Used a lot now in Hydra, but was already used in Faction Wars as one of the best carries for this faction. Already used in Arena as a way of blocking out the enemy's buffs. So yeah, really cool champion. Skimfoss, not really used. I wouldn't level him out. Let's move on. Undeads. Quite a lot of undeads here. Gordrab, great early, epic. Kind of gets outscaled a bit later on. A bit like a mini Arbiter with revives, increase attack, and turn meter fill. Good epic still for this faction for Faction Wars. Seeker, capable of pushing you to 2-for-1 speed requirements for Clan Boss. That makes him pretty damn unique. He's got a speed buff, which is on a 3-turn cooldown, but gets an extra turn. So it's the equivalent of a 2-turn cooldown. Very few champions have got this. It makes him incredibly useful for Clan Boss. He's also great in Arena for this passive ability that spreads defense across your team. Catacomb Counselor is outscaled now. Wouldn't build him out. Dark Aethel, wouldn't build. Dark Elhain, pretty good anti-freeze mechanic champion. So cool if you're trying to build like an auto Dark Fae team. You make somebody freeze someone in your team. Dark Elhain blows everyone up. Cool against Torment in the Arena as well. Outside of that, probably wouldn't really use. Husk is getting a lot more playtime. Underrated epic. I've talked about this guy for a long time. Enemy max HP A2. Doesn't hit as hard as some of the others, but still really strong. Also got a chance to stun on that same ability. Pretty much all about that ability. The rest of his kit's kind of rubbish. So we've got Karam, is a poison exploder. Not really worth building out, in my opinion. Lich, not worth building out. Hexia, not worth building. Defiled Sinner, not worth building. Corpse Collector, Not worth building. Morsian Mage is actually a good support unit. Lots of buffs, really strong buffs as well for your team. Nice cleanse ability on his A3 with a heal and a decreased speed A1. Lots to like about Morsian Mage. Zelatar does bring an AoE sleep ability, which is good for control if you're struggling, and a little bit of a heal and stuff, but pretty much gets outscaled by a lot of better control-based champions. Bogoth, top tier epic. Really, really good. Like one of the best tanks in the game. Got a provoked ability here. Also a chance to put decreased attack out. Got a triple hit A1, makes him good for Fire Knight. He's got this passive, heals when you take damage. Passive, puts leech out when you take damage. It's just awesome. Like this guy's kit is brilliant. Great in so many places in the game. It's insane. Really worth taking to 60. Balthus is kind of like a poor man's tank, really. He looks good on paper, but I don't rate him very highly. Anax is good in Clan Boss, brings decrease defense and weaken. Also poisons as well. Also not bad against Bommel if you're trying to get a decreased accuracy champion going. Hits really hard and has got a lot of debuffs. He's kind of difficult to manage with his passive, though, on Clan Boss because he gets his extra turn when his HP drops low. So normally you'd want to run him in an unkillable team because he's got quite a low base defense and a very low base speed. But if you get him going, he hits hard and he's got great debuffs. Dark Elves then. Dark Elves, we've got Captain Tamelia. I think just outscaled within the game. Like I can't really see a place where I would be saying, yes, that's the one you want to build out. Caden, decent, epic, got revive ability, hits pretty hard, brings you decreased attack, good champion. Dark Kale is one of the Doom Tower epics, actually top tier. Really hard hitting, loads of poisons going on. In some of the fastest dragon runs and ice golem runs in the game. Yeah, really great champion, but does take a long time to get through Doom Tower normal side. Gwyneth is another one from Doom Tower. Takes even longer to get, even less use case. I'm not that fussed about Gwyneth. Spider is pretty underrated. Brings a lot of good debuffs on an AoE hit. So AoE drop attack, AoE defense down, AoE weaken. This one is a places ability, so it will happen on all affinities as well. I mean, he's just really good against Spider, but also really good against general waves in dungeons. Brienne is a really good arena champion. Again, it's another Doom Tower champion. I think it's the third one in. Might be the second one in. But yeah, really strong champion. Ability to remove enemy buffs and replace them with a weaken. That's great for the arena if you're going second or if you're just trying to set up damage for your team. Also got this kind of revive mechanic as well. Really strong champion. Thoresk is one of the new Doom Tower champions and just forever away. Pretty much terrible. And Krakarth, just a little bit worse. Absolutely shocking champion. Luria does bring a freeze ability if you're struggling for a freeze against Bommel. But generally, I wouldn't consider building her out unless that was what I needed. Crimson Helm, pretty weak. Warden, I mean, he's got the best hair in the game, surely. Other than that, terrible champion. Delver, useless champion. Fang Cleric is pretty much a useless champion unless you need a reviver for Faction Wars. Visionary is decent. So she's bringing turn meter control. She's bringing AoE, decreased crit rate, which is pretty rare. Buffing your crit rate and crit damage as well. And a nice speed in dungeons aura. Good champion in this faction. Lua can hit really hard actually on her A2 and really hard on her A3. Ignoring shield and block damage. Good champion to build out. Not crazy. Like if you don't need someone for damage, then don't worry about it. She's pretty good though against Fire Knight. Pretty good against Spider as well with that turn meter drop on her A3. Sylar's a bit of a speed freak. I could put her in a stun set and she'll get some stunnage done. But you're using her for decreased speed, decreased turn meter. Really good against waves of enemies like in Spider, like in Doom Tower waves, like in Arena as your second champion to push the enemy's turn meter back to give you more time to get your damage away. Madame Cerise is an awesome epic still. She gives you a full cleanse ability of enemy buffs, replaces them with decreased attack and decreased defense for 2 turns. This alone is a legendary level ability. It's as good an ability as they get in this game. So this is really strong. And you can kind of use that same ability anywhere in the game to do those crazy debuffs against enemies, but mainly used in arena when you're trying to clean off the buffs and replace it with the nasties. Right then, 3 more to go. Night Revs. Night Revs, we've got a few here. Crypt Witch. Crypt. Crap. Pitiless one. I pity the fool that builds this person out. Necro Hunter. Go and hunt in a different game. Useless. Miscreated Monster then. First one who's any good. And yeah, really, really solid champion still. I kind of don't see him used as much anymore. Probably because the burners have been upscaled and we've got more of them. But Miscreated Monster is like your spider champion. He brings an attack all enemy, chance to stun, and massive shield on his A2. And that's what his kit is all about. Once you've done that, pretty much you can just build the rest of your team around managing the spider, and you shouldn't die through this huge shield. Also, it's got ally protection, so you know the person that is taking the flak, he's protecting alongside. He's like, don't worry, fella. Even though my massive shield is keeping you up, I'm gonna soak some of that damage alongside you. Yeah, so still an awesome champion. Outside of that, his shield is not as big because there's not as many enemies, and it's not used as much. If you get him early game, put him in your arena team, and people will struggle to beat him up. You do want, though, high HP, decent speed, some accuracy, some crit rate. Like he's quite stat hungry. Pharsalus, other than keeping hold of these candles, I don't know what he's used for. Sinacia is a really great epic, hard hitting for someone with such a low base attack. You can still build her to do a lot of damage. She's got an AoE A1. She's got a nice heal ability on her A2, and she puts someone's skills on cooldown. And she's got this equalize heal, which is actually a really cool, underrated healing mechanic in the game. So she can be used in a ton of areas, actually, and just kind of carry your team. Doom Priest is all about a passive. You just want her to get as many turns as possible. Every time she has a turn, she cleans off a debuff from everyone on your team. She has become top tier since Doom Tower's released, and pretty much everything you do is just revolves around you taking debuffs non-stop. Sepulchre, great clan boss specialist. She's bringing a block debuffs, an increased defense, and a decreased attack. Those same abilities are also good for a lot of Doom Tower content, so Sepulchre's still good. Rector Draft is a great healer and a great reviver. Good champion to have on your team. Talicia brings an AoE drop defense, which doesn't need books, which is really useful, and she hits pretty damn hard as well. Deathless, useless. Kytis is he's kind of like one of these under the radar smackers. So he's pretty much totally useless until he goes below half health, and then he becomes one of the hardest hitting champions in the game. So he's incredibly difficult to set up to make that happen, but really good if you use Cardinal that I spoke about earlier, who revives your team with less than half health, and he comes in and blows stuff up. Bergoth is just a poor man's tank, really. Not enough in his kit to make him worth building out unless you are struggling with this faction for Faction Wars, and I wouldn't take him past 50. Pestilus is a bit of a weird champion. Not bad in clan boss, brings a burn, brings a bit of healing, brings a bit of turn meter fill. But I'd say kind of like a jack of all trades, not really a master of any. Faceless, show us your face. Show us your face. Actually hits pretty hard. Like he just ignores defense, which means he can just crunch through people in late game. But I personally wouldn't build him out. Everything he does is single target. Unless you are struggling to get through some tanks, it's not worth your time. Skullcrown, still one of the queens of arena defense. Very hard to kill in the early game. She's got this unkillable ability when she goes low health, which means that she can take all the damage you want, and then she unleashes an absolute cannon of an A2 on an AoE hit. So still good for that basis. Outside of arena, she can play. She's good. She's got AoE ability, so throwing her a stun set, and she's got control. She hits hard and pretty fun. Golden Reaper, Speed Freak, will speed up your teams. Kind of already got that on day 30 when you get your High Cartoon, so I wouldn't say she's better than High Cartoon to build out. She does bring an AoE drop attack, though, so maybe a bit of Hydra. Whisper, I wouldn't personally build out. It's all single target damage, but she can hit pretty hard. Dwarves, then. Dwarves, Grizzled Jarl, still a good epic. Brings you block debuffs, brings you an AoE drop attack. Can be used in clan boss. Great for this faction, for Faction Wars. Cornelia, I originally thought she was pretty trash, but turns out she can solo a whole bunch of stuff. She's got this quirky A3, which puts one of your own team to sleep. When they wake up, they get healed and they get turn meter and all sorts of stuff. If you want to know about Cornelia, go and check out YST. He's done a bunch of videos of her soloing Bommel, soloing all sorts of stuff. Anyway, interesting, quirky champion. Villager, pretty much I'd say a spider specialist. She's able to manipulate turn meter really well. She gains more turn meter as well, depending on how many enemies she hits with her A3. So she can cycle through her abilities really fast. But yeah, fun in spider. Outside of that, probably not used a ton. Rear guard sergeant, we know where she guards your rear. She is good in this faction for faction wars. Ally protection is also really strong against clan boss, as well as decreased attack and a decreased defense. Still a good epic, still like viable in loads of content actually. Geo, God tier, God tier. One of the best champions in the game. Not just epics, one of the best champions in Raid Shadow Legends. All about his A3, linking with his passive. So he puts out a burn, then he starts cracking people in the face like you wouldn't believe. Just absolutely awesome in almost all content in the game. Almost all. One of the best for Hydra, one of the best for Clan Boss, one of the best for Doom Tower bosses, probably the best tank for Spider. Great for Fire Knight, great for Ice Golem. The list is endless. Absolutely top tier epic. Rockbreaker is a great tank for stage 21 of this faction for faction wars. Outside of that, he's kind of been outscaled in the game, honestly. He's fun. He hits hard. He's got a funky mechanic, but doesn't really get a lot of playtime anymore. Melga is the reviver for this faction and a really good one. Good outside of faction wars as well because her revive is actually really strong. Quadboard gives you an AoE drop defense. Is this the only epic that I didn't have all game apart from the Doom Tower ones? I think it is. Fodboar is, yeah, again, like AoE drop defense is going to be useful, but it is on a 4-turn, which is weak compared to a lot of the drop defense champions nowadays. So Runekeeper then brings you a full team cleanse and some healing. Good champion, good support unit. Bird Owl needs a buff, useless champion. Gala kind of needs a buff now. She's just one-dimensional. Everything she does is single target. She can hit reasonably hard, a bit like Whisper on the last faction, but I wouldn't build her out. Ragnar actually does a lot of damage, brings you leech, brings you drop defense and weaken, so they're all good clan boss things, but his passive is hard to control. He likes to kill himself, and nobody wants someone that's just going to get there killing themselves. So good for faction wars, can be good in Doom in clan boss, but just watch out for his mechanics. Dimitha, godlike, epic, just so good across the game. She creates some of the best unkillable teams for clan boss in the game. She brings you this block damage ability on her A3 on a 3-turn cooldown. It's absolutely fantastic. She's also got nice heals and buff increase on her A2 as well. Top tier epic, this one. Okay, then last faction is Shadowkin. Taradi, what a great start. Another brilliant epic. Fantastic in clan boss. He's bringing you ally protection. He's bringing you some shieldage. He's bringing you decreased attack as well and poison. Such a clan boss specialist. Really great champion. Otatsu, actually a really good epic. People underrate this dude. AoE drop attack. He's got leech. He's got some nice buffs as well for your team. Yeah, really interesting epic. Well worth building out. Chani does a bit of damage with her A3 ability. I personally wouldn't build her out. Umitodi, I wouldn't build out. Sashi can do a bit of work. She's got turn meter feel. She's got increased attack for your team. She's got a leech ability. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. The decreased accuracy on an AoE is really good for Hydra. Outside of that, probably not used a ton. Benshi, pretty useless. Buren Giri can do some solo Bommel stuff. And has also got a AoE stun ability, which is very unusual for an epic. Decent champion, but not like god tier. Konichi sounded like she was going to be awesome. AoE leech is good. Ally protection is good. And a weaken as well. Kind of like clan boss champion and Hydra champion, I would say. But outside of that, probably not doing that much. Chinuru, I think available for a lot of people as like a login champion nowadays as part of some sort of sponsorship stuff. Average Epic. Does hit pretty hard on her A3, so not bad in the arena, but wouldn't really use it outside of that. Gory, he sounds like he should be absolutely awesome with his passive against Hydra, but his passive doesn't seem to work properly. So, yeah, it just doesn't work. Gory, I think, is pretty weak. Shurajin, pretty weak. Masamoto, pretty weak. Boru, pretty weak. Does have an AoE ability on her A1 that can throw out decreased defense if there's lots of buffs around or debuffs around. Outside of that, useless, I would say. Okay, Genbo, here we go. This is someone who is worth building out. Really great hitter. So he buffs himself, gets an extra turn. So he only needs 70% crit rate to get his damage going. He then does his AoE ability, which should wipe the board in most arena fights. If he crits, then he reduces a buff by 1 count. So if someone's got Swift Parry up, it pops off. If somebody's got any buffs out there, he just removes them. He's like that. Who cares? Also, ignores unkillable buffs if he's got increased attack up himself. So again, like an anti-Skull Crown, anti-Leorius, and anti-Swift Parry sets. Really, really cool in today's kind of meta, and he hits damn hard. The last one up then, Tyre. Actually not a bad champion, but a Doom Tower champion. So again, you might not get her for 3 or 4 months. No, did I say months? I meant years. And that is going to conclude all epics reviewed for April 2022. Leave me a comment. Who did I get wrong? Who did I get right? Well done if you survived till the end. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.